I have used this exact process to help thousands of beginners, seniors, and individuals of all abilities improve their balance. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's fitness podcast today on Become All Strong, as we are going to talk about how to improve your balance, the exact process I use with 5 different aspects of balance. We're going to talk about why they're important and also give you a few examples of how to perform each specific drill for those specific aspects of balance. So go ahead and stay all the way until the end of the video. Maybe even share this with somebody else. And this is going to be a really, really good piece of information for you today. And in addition to that, if you are new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, as we help individuals of all abilities improve their overall health and knowledge of the gym. If you are just listening to this too and not just directly watching it, you'll still get some good nuggets and value, and hopefully you come back later at a point where you actually can watch it. So for starters here, I just wanted to first introduce balance in general, because this is something where a lot of the seniors I work with, or just individuals who are trying to get a little bit better balance, they kind of are thinking like, oh, my balance isn't good. And what does that really mean? Okay, so when it comes to balance, balance simply being is your ability to stay stable and steady when moving through space, okay? So a lot of times people think of balance, they think of, oh, I'm just going to be standing up in space like this, right? And this balance, right? I've got good balance. Okay, that's absolutely true, but that's only one simple aspect of balance. That's actually called your static balance, and we'll kind of address that once we get further into the podcast, of course. But for simple being, balance covers a lot of different aspects, okay? And another thing you might be thinking of this is, okay, well, balance. Why is my balance bad? Why is my balance bad? Okay, so the big thing about this that a lot of people don't realize is that balance, just like becoming stronger, just like becoming faster, just like all these other aspects of fitness, is actually a aspect of fitness. And if you aren't consistently practicing the ability of yourself to be able to balance properly, to move in different ways that challenge your body, guess what? Your balance is going to go down very rapidly. And I see this with a lot of the seniors that I work with. They retire, right? And they're so excited. They're going to experience the world, and they absolutely do. But in that downtime, they're sitting. They're very sedentary, and they don't practice their balance at all. So because of that, then I see them at one of my classes, or just from a one-on-one training session, and they're like, I need to work on my balance. And the first thing I ask them is, what's going on? I haven't done anything in years. Okay, so we probably just need to get a little bit more physical activity in our life. So that's going to be a big, crucial thing. It's usually due to being sedentary. There are some other things which we'll address, of course, but that's going to be the big thing. So set my little note sheet here. Just make sure I'm getting everything. So of course, the importance of this is because if you don't have proper balance, you're going to be greatly compromised in all your activities of daily living. Like if you can't go up the stairs without proper balance, you might fall and hurt yourself. Maybe on a more intense level, if you are walking across the street really quickly because there's traffic coming, if you don't have proper balance, you could potentially hurt yourself by falling down. If you're somebody who's maybe more gifted and you're kind of into athletics, you play like a rec league of basketball or something, if you don't have proper balance, you're not going to be able to perform at the highest capability in that aspect. So it's not just about your activities of daily living, it can go into higher levels of activity as well. Okay, so when we're kind of tying this all together, the whole reason why we're practicing balance is to allow you to transfer that balance into your activities of daily living. So you have more enjoyable activities of daily living, or transfer it to your sports or whatever you want to do. Balance is crucial for every single aspect of life, not just for seniors, but for people who are very young. I mean, if you look at a baby, the reason why they can't get around and walk around is because they don't have good balance. And all they did to get good balance was simply work on it, practice it, keep up with it, and then it happened. Okay? So that's going to be a big reoccurring thing. If you are getting some good value from that section, go ahead and drop a like. And we are going to go right into the next section, which is how to improve your static balance, okay? So this is going to be the first out of the 5 aspects of balance that I actually use in all of my balance classes and routines, and this is the one that people often think about. So static balance is simply the ability of your body to remain stable and steady in space, okay? So essentially not moving at all. This is what people think of when you think of stereotypical balance. So you're just standing in place, okay? So from this, we can kind of make it more challenging though, because a lot of people, just standing hip width apart, this is pretty simple. But ways you can make it a little bit more challenging, we're going to show you a few different options here. You can just bring your feet together. Anytime you bring your feet together, that's going to make your base a little more narrow. Anytime you make your base a little bit more narrow, guess what? It's tougher on your balance. This can be applied even further from this position, as you can do a slightly staggered feet. So from the side, you can stagger your feet. This is a semi-tandem or half-step hold. Again, a little bit more unstable, a little bit more wobbly, but still working that static balance. You can go even further from this and do a full heel to toe, right? So you're kind of staggering in a full heel to toe position. That's going to be another step up or a progression that makes this part of static balance a little bit tougher. All right, we got a couple more here. One of my favorites is going to be a split stance hold. So you're going to take a very large step out. I'll actually do it from this side. Very large step forward. That front knee is going to be slightly bent, back heel slightly off the ground, and you're holding this position. This one's a really good one to build some leg strength in yourself and also build some good mobility. Super, super good exercise. Making sure anytime we're doing anything staggered stance that we are actually doing it on both sides, because we don't want to have unequal balance through our bodies, unequal balance through our muscles. That's super, super crucial and super, super important. I got a couple more here. Another one I really like to use, and this is going to be a balance pad hold. So I'm going to go ahead and put links down below in the description of all the different equipment I use down below, so you can check those out for yourself. But for balance pad hold, this one, super simple. Stand on the balance pad, and you're just going to try to hold it and just not move, right? Static balance, we're not moving. Anytime you put your feet on something unstable, like it's unstable ground or a balance pad or a pillow or anything, that's going to provide, of course, instability. And the flatter the ground is, the better and easier it is going to be for you to your balance, okay? So balance pad is another great option. And the last one we're going to go over for static balance, of course, this is one of many. I actually have a program with a lot of these exercises in it too. But what this is going to involve is a tree hold, okay? So this is going to work into a single leg hold. And you're going to start with your feet just kind of staggered like this. So this will be the first look in this position, okay? And then you can slightly bring your heel up more, all the way up to a point where you're not having your foot on the ground, okay? So you're going to do that on both sides, but it's a good kind of progression because this might be wobbly for you. Then you can go up and go up even further, even further. Just a few great options. Go ahead and drop a like if you learned some good information from that little section there. And static balance is incredibly crucial and important, because without static balance, you won't have the stable base to then move into dynamic balance and other more tougher drills. And speaking of dynamic balance, we're going to go into that next. So dynamic balance is incredibly important because we use dynamic balance all the time. Anytime we go out for a walk, anytime we go up for stairs, anytime we're picking up something off the ground, your body is moving in space. Dynamic balance is simply your body's ability to safely move through space without tipping over, okay? Remaining stable and secure, just like static balance, but while adding some motion, okay? So I always tell people, walking is the easiest thing to think of. If you don't have good balance when you're out walking, you're going to be stumbling all over the place. And the second you start walking faster, it's going to get even worse. So let's look at a few exercises that are going to help your static balance. One of my favorites is a simple heel to toe walk, okay? And this is simply just going heel to toe. So you're walking nice and carefully, nice and easy. You can do this slow or you can do this fast. Right now, we're just going to do this fast. And if that is too challenging for you, what I usually recommend for people is doing a half step walk. So very similar, but you're kind of cutting your foot in half, just going back and forth nice and carefully, going to really challenge that static balance. And of course, since it is a narrow base, it's going to be even tougher on that progression. So another excellent way that we can work our dynamic balance is with a slalom run. Okay, so how this is going to work is, and I actually only have one cone today. I'm going to bring the hurdle over here. We'll use this. Normally, and for all intents and purposes of demonstration, I'm just going to have two things out here. Normally, I would have multiple cones, maybe 3 to 5 cones, and then you're essentially going to walk through this in an S fashion. Okay, so you're going to slalom around these, walk around them. And as you can see here, we are actively challenging our dynamic balance. We are rapidly changing our center of gravity extremely quickly, going all the way around on both sides. You can do this for a very long length. You can kind of just do it in a little setting that I have right here. Either are going to work extremely well for you. It doesn't particularly matter. And on top of that, another one of my favorite drills is actually with the hurdle. So we'll take this cone out, put it to the side. I love doing these too, especially with these adjustable hurdles because they're of course adjustable. You can make it a little bit taller or a little bit lower depending on your level of balance. And again, normally you're going to have multiple of these. I actually have 6 that I use typically, but I don't have a lot of space in this, so just use your imagination with me. You'd imagine having a few of these in a row, and you might have done these in actually physical therapy, but essentially you're just going to be walking up and over the hurdle. So this is really good too, because you're also getting some hip strength. A lot of individuals who have bad balance don't have good strength in their hips. So you're stepping up and over, challenging that center of gravity change, and using your dynamic balance very heavily in that exact exercise. Okay, so go ahead, drop a like if those exercises were good for you and you're going to try some of them out. Go ahead and comment down below too if you have seen any of those exercises before. I'd love to know. And we're going to keep moving on here. So although those aspects of balance are incredibly important, there are still 3 more that we need to dive into. And that next aspect is what I call agility. And it's not what I call it, but it's very prevalent in sports and athletics. And that's the ability to move precisely and quickly through space. Now, when I say agility, a lot of times people are like, okay, that's just for athletes. Well, here's the thing. Whether you are an athlete, whether you are an average Joe, whether you are a senior or just a beginner in fitness, if you don't have good agility or the ability to move quickly through space very precisely, you are going to likely fall, okay? We need to have that body awareness to move quickly and stop when we need to. Otherwise, we're going to be tumbling all over the place. So I do a lot of agility drills in my exercise classes with seniors to allow them to move their body quickly, move their legs quickly for that exact reason, okay? So some of the excellent agility drills. The first one is a very simple one. You can do this at home. All of these, of course, you can do these at home, but you're going to imagine having 3 dots in front of you. Normally, I would actually have 3 colorful dots, and you're simply going to tap in forward in different planes, back and forth, okay? So as fast as you can through this position. You're then, of course, going to switch and do it on both sides. So it's going to be really good to work your single leg quickness, so the ability for one leg to move quick. You might notice that if you're somebody who's had a knee replacement or hip replacement, one of your legs isn't as strong and doesn't move as quickly. So this is going to precisely be a good way to do that. Also, of course, you're just standing on one leg. So about 80% of the weight's going to be in that one leg. And when you're doing that, you're working some single leg strength and stability in that leg that is stable. So that's the first one, agility taps. You can use something on the ground to be even more precise with your taps. Dots, you could have 3 towels, whatever you'd like, and have at your own home. In addition to this next one is one of my absolute favorites. It's called the shuttle run. And you're going to take a cone or just a landmark, place it about 5 to 10 feet in front of you. Again, I don't have that much space here. It doesn't really matter though. You're going to start from the side, and this can look a lot of different ways, but you're going to run up to the run up to the cone, tap it run back to your start, tap it, back to the cone, tap it, and then back to the front, boom, you're done, okay? You're gonna do that quickly though, as quickly as you comfortably can. So I'm gonna do it again as quickly as I can, just to show you kind of the speed, fast, good, and break. So it gets you out of breath. So the really cool thing about that too, obviously if you're somebody who can't get down with, they have a lot of pain and that struggles for them, you can not even bend down. You can just run up to it, tap it with your foot, go down, tap it like that. You can raise the thing you're tapping on. So maybe you have a chair and you're just touching the top of a chair. That's another way you can boost your quickness and still practice this. It kind of is very, very regressionable, I should say. So you can regress it or make it very, very easy to lots of different variations. I do really like people try to bend over and do it because that works a lot of your lower back muscles that are usually very weak, and it works your glutes too, which are usually very weak. So doing that helps you to bend over, work that dynamic balance of the ability to bend over while also moving nice and quick. The agility is moving quickly and precisely through space. And the last agility exercise we're going to do, this is based off from one of the strength coaches I used to work with at Iowa when I interned there, Phil Johnson. Shout out to him. You can go check out his YouTube channel as well. He's got a lot of great content over there. But what we are going to actually do is grab a tennis ball or some bouncy ball. And then you're going to have that ball right out in front of you. You're going to have it up high. And then you're simply going to drop the ball, wait till it bounces, and then you're gonna race up to it and grab it, okay? So you're moving quick here. Drop, catch. And then of course you can do it on the other hand, drop, catch. And you're trying to move quickly for nice, quick precision. So a lot of things here, we have visual components, so we need to have good hand-eye coordination. That's good for balance. Also, it can be in different planes, so you can kind of do it straight to the side. That's going to be a little tougher, but you're going to be moving in a bunch of different areas, a bunch of different ways. You can make this even tougher by doing two bounces. So bounce, bounce. Oop, failed there. You saw that. Try this again here. Bounce, bounce, boom. And of course, since it's really close to me, it's a lot harder. You could kind of throw it in front of you a little bit, or what we did when I worked with Phil to improve balance, we actually did it for each other. So we had somebody in front of us, and I would say be dropping the ball for him. So if I was working with a client, I would probably have the ball about 5 feet in front of them, and I would tell them the second this drops, you're gonna race out and come catch it. That's a way you can do it if you have it with other people. But the key here is to have it far enough away from you where you can move your body quickly to catch it. So please, 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 if you're finding some value from this, go ahead, drop a like. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me so far. But we still have two more aspects of balance, and I promise you, if you just follow those first two but neglect the last two, you're going to be missing the full scoop on the balance. So we need to be paying attention to all of this. The next portion of balance is what I call the visual and audio cues. So this is extremely important for seniors because a lot of them have very poor vision and poor hearing. What a lot of people don't realize is that your vision and your hearing is greatly correlated with your ability to balance well. Your vision and hearing specifically actually helps to tell your body where you are in space, okay? So if you close your eyes and kind of close your ears like this, your body doesn't have as much perception because it can actually hear the sound from the walls that bounces to your ears, and it can tell you roughly how much space there is between that. Same thing with your vision. I can tell by looking straight ahead or looking at the camera roughly how much space is in that. So if you take all that out, your body is basically like, oh crud, I don't know where I am in space. And when you don't know where you are in space, your body falls, okay? So I work visual and audio cues quite a bit. Of course, one of the easiest ways to do this, I already demonstrated it. We're gonna start with our feet together for this one. And then when you do this in this feet together position, you're simply just gonna close your eyes. You're gonna close your eyes and you're going to not move at all. And you'll notice that this is already pretty difficult. We can kind of make this a little bit tougher by staggering our feet in a half tandem or a semi-tandem, and then go to a full tandem too if you'd like. Oh man, that's where it gets tough for me. Trying your best to not fall, of course. So just that little bit, taking out the vision is one aspect. Another way we can kind of mess with vision, we'll stay with our feet together, is gazing up and down. And then of course, side to side. And when you're doing this, it's just like closing your eyes. You're kind of gazing side to side, so your body isn't able to have a fixed point of contact with your vision. And when you do that, it greatly challenges your balance. You probably have ever done a balance challenge and somebody will say to you, pick a focal point and stick with it. And you notice immediately that you can balance better. Well, you could do the exact opposite, which actually challenges your balance quite a bit more. In addition to this, I already mentioned hearing. So of course you can close your ears like this while closing your eyes. That's going to make balance a lot more challenging. But an even better way to do it, you can actually put on some earmuffs if you really want to try this. And adding the visual component to that will make it very, very tough on yourself. I think I have one more here. Yeah, so all of these you can combine visual and audio, but this is a good point to note that if you are somebody who's struggling with balance and maybe you have glasses, it could be a time to go get your vision checked. Or maybe if you have hearing aids or just trouble hearing, you go get your hearing checked. And you'll find out very quickly that if you get your vision and your hearing checked and you kind of maybe get some good hearing aids that help you or some good glasses that help you, that you'll be able to balance a lot better than if you didn't have those aids. Okay. So in addition to this, one of the last components that's also extremely crucial is the ability to have proper core strength. Now, if you think about it, we culminate all these things together. If you have good static balance, so your ability to stand stable, dynamic balance, able to move, and agility, able to move quick, you have good vision, have good hearing, have it tamed at least. But if your body doesn't have a good core strength, the second you move forward, it's going to become unstable and you're not going to be able to balance properly, okay? So core strength is incredibly important, and there's a few ways that I work core strength with seniors. One of them, this is my favorite drill, is what we call a single arm farmer's carry, okay? So you're gonna grab a dumbbell or just a heavy jug of milk or just some cans. You can fill up a bag with books. You just need something that can pull your body down unilaterally on one side. And then all you're gonna do, we're gonna do, make this a little tough, you're actually going to walk very, very slowly with just that weight on your side, okay? Just that weight. And it's going to be pulling you to the side so it doesn't feel like much is going on. But you're going to actively be contracting your oblique of the side that weight is on your arm, okay? And since we're moving, this is going to work our balance, our dynamic balance in particular as well, okay? So you can load this one up pretty heavy. You can probably go up a lot heavier than you think you can, but I always think of carrying in groceries for this one. Not a directly why you do this, but a good application of why something like this is important for you to do. If you want to make this even more challenging on your balance, we can do a heel to toe walk with this. So same concept, it's pulling me to that side, but with the heel to toe, it's then fighting me to kind of go back and forth in this position, okay? So nice and controlled, nice and carefully. Single arm farmer's carry, by far one of my most favorite exercises. And two more, these ones are also really good. We're going to find that slightly staggered stance. So go to a heel to toe position or half step semi-tandem position. And we're going to do what we call leans, okay? So very similar to that, except we're actively going to be leaning towards one side, and we're just going to be holding it here. This is going to work the core strength through those obliques again, but we can also do it forward. So then we're going to be working the core strength of our lower back, do it to the other side, work the core strength of that side of the oblique, and then slightly backwards. This is where you do want to be careful though, because it does get slightly dangerous. Don't need to go back too far for this. Now we're working the front of our core or our ab muscles for our overall core strength. And you can do this all the way around. You can do this in kind of a circle like this, doing around the world. You can do it quickly, you can do it fast, making sure we're doing both sides of this so we get equal balance work throughout. So core strength, incredibly important for that aspect. Go ahead and drop a like if that gave you a new perspective on balance and you learned something new. The last section of this is just a few application tips to get the most out of your balance aspect. And what happens with a lot of people is they'll see some of these things, they'll see these drills, and they'll say, oh, it's so overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to give you some of the tips that I give to people that will hopefully help you to stick with this and be realistic with yourself. So try your best to incorporate every single aspect of balance into your routine. So that means having some static balance where you're just standing in place, some dynamic balance where maybe you're moving your body, having some agility work where you are moving your body quickly, right? Having a little bit of core strength work where maybe we're leaning and working the side of our core. And of course, on top of that, also making sure that we work our visual and audio cues. So maybe closing your eyes, doing gazes side to side. All of those are great options, but you really want to try to have all of those aspects in your balance routine to become fully holistically balanced, I guess. But with that said, if you can't or don't have the time to do all that, just pick a few that are difficult for you. So if you really struggle with dynamic balance, stick with that. If you struggle with the second you close your eyes, you notice you're going all over the place, maybe just do visual balance. Try to do them all, but also meet yourself where you are at in your balance journey. In addition to that, I didn't have a chair when I was doing these exercises, but normally in my class, I would always recommend people to have a chair near them or something sturdy. So the second that if they tumble, they can grab onto it. That's incredibly important to stay safe for yourself. Something stable doesn't need to be a chair, but a chair is usually the best option. You can do two hands on it. You can do one hand on it. And it doesn't really matter. I always tell people you can kind of feather the chair. So if the chair is in front of you, you can try, say, a single leg exercise, and you can just lightly tap it almost to just check yourself and give you a little reassurance that everything's going to be okay. And always remembering that practice makes perfect with all this stuff. So the more you practice, the quicker you will improve, and the quicker you will improve, the better balance you will have. The better balance you have, the more you'll realize how important balance is, and of course, the more you'll stick with it. So starting where you're at and just being okay with practicing and really not getting down at yourself. You know, if you can't really balance that well today, that doesn't mean a week from now, a month from now, it won't look completely different. I have seen transformations from thousands of people where they have barely been able to use a walker, and then they were able to walk across the room without any assistance. Okay, so this stuff is crazy, and you are no different from any of those people, and you absolutely can do it too. So the last thing too is to remember that balancing day to day can be very different based off of stress in your life, based off of nutrition, how well you're eating, based off of how well you're sleeping, and just based off of literally every aspect of life. So if you're highly stressed, if you haven't been eating very well, if you haven't been getting enough sleep at night, your balance can and will be affected. So that's why it's important when you're doing your balance training that you are making sure everything is covered, right? It's just like a training program to build muscle and strength. You would not expect somebody to build the most muscle and strength, not sleeping very well, not managing their stress well, and eating like crap all the time. The same exact thing goes to balance. It's another aspect of fitness and is no different from those other ones. So please, if you enjoyed this, go ahead, drop a like, comment down below your favorite section of balance and what you are going to implement into your workout routine. And once you're done doing that, go ahead and click this link right here, because this will take you to all of the balance workouts that I currently have on my channel and have filmed for you. A lot of them cover most of these aspects of balance, so you can check those out completely free for you to look at whenever you would like. Thank you so much for joining me, and remember to be all strong.
To tell me you know